especially with this subject, that you build upon what you've learnt previously, because if you start off in 5D, you're not going to understand anything. Okay, so you have to make sure you at least watch the videos in the previous sessions that we've done. And like, remember on Monday, I wasn't here, but I did ask you guys if you wanted me to redo it, but you guys were cool with it. So 5A is good. 5B, which was what we did yesterday, we looked into representing networks using matrices. So the dots and lines, okay, and they represent connections between one another. And then the topic after that was on 5C, which was adding and subtracting your matrices, okay, which is what we learned about yesterday. So if you weren't here, please watch the video for that. Just 5D, that's it. So in terms of holiday homework, whatever you don't finish up to 5D is homework. That's it. Okay, so no extra work. All right, let's get into what we're doing today, 5D. So in terms of working with matrices, remember, this is an example of a matrix, yeah? Anyone want to tell me, Anthony, take your headphones off and tell me, what is the order of matrix A? When I talk about order, what's that? Thank you, Anthony. What's the order? Tell me what's the order. I know it's 2 by 3, but what does that mean? What does the order mean? Jordan, what does the order mean? The order of a matrix. So if I ask you, what is the order?
What's the order of that?
Yeah, what's the order of this? 2 by 3. It's 2 rows, 3 columns. So you're telling me when it comes to order, what's the number of rows? What's the number of columns? So just as an example, this is a 2 by 3. Okay? You don't say it's not 2 times 3, it's 2 by 3. 2 rows by 3 columns. Okay? Now, and remember what we learned yesterday. When it comes to adding and subtracting, the order of the matrix have to be the same. So for example, these 2 matrices, you can add and subtract them because they're both 2 by 3s, okay? They have to have the same number of rows and columns. Okay, ones that can't be done are the ones that have different orders, okay? So if you're, for example, if you've got a matrix that's like this, and you try to add it with this, okay? Tegan, why can't you add them together? Tell me why. But why? Tell me why. Why can't I add them? What's different about them? They're not the same. Tell me what's the order? Okay, what's the order for this one? Number of rows, number of columns. Tell me. How many rows this way? 1, 2, yeah? So that's 2. And how many columns this way? 2, yeah? It's a 2 by 2. What about this one? What's the order for this? How many rows? 2? No, 2 rows. Look, 1, 2. And it's got 1 column going down. Okay, so because the order is different, you cannot add them together. You have to have the same exact order when you're adding or subtracting. Okay, different rules when it's multiplying, but that's something else, right? We'll learn about that next term. So for now, what we're going to learn about is, anyway, scalar multiplication. Now, this is a little bit different to what you'll be learning next term, but for now, this is a very similar principle to what we learned last lesson, okay? So any matrix can be multiplied by a single number. This is called scalar multiplication. And what that means is, say, for example, I've got a matrix that looks like this. Let's make it a bit better. 1, 2, 0, 5, 10. Okay, I can multiply this matrix by, for example, by 10. Okay, I can also divide it by 3, for example, or I can even multiply it by a decimal like 0.5. Okay, that's what scalar multiplication is. So if, for example, I multiply this matrix by 2, okay, let's just call out the answers. Tell me what the answers are going to be in this new matrix. So if I multiply everything by 2, what's going to happen? 2, what's the next number? 4, 0, yep. 8, good. Okay, that's basically scalar multiplication. Okay, you're just multiplying the matrix by a certain amount. Now, sometimes, and what you'll see is you find, for example, here, what does this mean? 3a. So this means 3 times this matrix, because this is matrix A. Okay, 0.5b. Well, that means 0.5 times this matrix, because it's matrix B. Okay, that's what that all represents. What do you guys think this means? 2a minus 3b. Anyone know? So what is it? Yep, tell me. Say it. Say it. Yep, so times this by 2 minus this times 3. Okay, that's what that's basically saying. Okay, so if I was to do that by hand, then that'll be that. But let's work out maybe 3. Let me rub this out. Let's work some of this out by hand, and then we'll do the rest of it on calculator. And then that's an application. All right, cool. So copy this down for me. 3a. Okay, so that's going to be 3 times matrix A, which is right there. Right, that matrix. So 2, 3, 0, 1, 4, 2. So you're going to need to show some working out for this at least. And this will suffice. As in, if you just show this, and then you show me the answer, I will be happy with that. So the answer for this is going to be everything in that matrix times 3. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 3s are 9. 3, 0. 3 1s are 3. 4 3s are 12. 3 2s are 6. There's your answer. Right? Nice and easy. You don't have to show any, and really, if you just do that for me, I would be happy with that. Okay? Nothing too crazy. Same with B. Okay, so it's going to be 0.5. Okay, but this time you're working with matrix B, okay, which is that. So 0.5 times matrix B. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 2, negative 2, and then 1. Okay, so a lot of the times, if you do get a question like this, where it's 0.5, you can use your calculator, but at the very least, show this. Okay, you have to show a little bit of working out. So 0.5 times 1 will be 0.5, 0.5 times 2 will be 1, 0.5 times 3 will be 1.5, 0.5 times 2 will be 1, 0.5 times negative 2 will be negative 1. And then 0.5 times 1 will be 0.5. Sometimes your calculator will show fractions as your answers, okay, but you can change that, remember, on your calculator when we get to it. So let's do C, okay, but before we do that, get your calculators up. We're going to work with them. Okay, so get your calculators open. Let's do C and D on our calculator. All right, so if you forgot how to do that, press the home button. I'm not sure if it actually works if you just go straight to, actually, that does work. You can just go straight to here, and that'll open a calculator. If you go A though, I'm not sure if that works. Oh, A does work as well. So you can go straight to the scratch pad and do a calculate, but whatever way, just open your calculator. Does anyone remember how to put a matrix into a calculator? Yep, tell me.
It's the button next to the book.
The book. The button next to the book, which is this guy. So this button here. Okay, and then you've got 4 types that you can choose from. There's a 2x2, a row matrix, a column matrix, and this is our custom one. So there you've got, you can state how many rows and columns that you want. So for matrix A, so this matrix here, it's a 2x3. So let's make that row 2. Number of column is 3, and then just press enter. And then we put our numbers in. Okay, put your numbers in. So 2, 3, and then 0. Go down to the second row, 1, 4, then 2. Okay, stop there if you're unsure how to do the next step, which is going to be labeling the matrix. You don't have to do this, okay, but it's just a helpful thing to do if you really want to. So you don't have to keep retyping it, but you can label the matrix. Put your cursor all the way to the right, so it looks like that now. Okay, so it's red on the side, so put it all the way to the right. Then you press Control, and then this button here, VAR, and you should see a little arrow, and you call it whatever you want now. All right, shall I repeat that?
No.
All good? Do I need to repeat it? All good, all good? Okay. I'll call this matrix A. Oops, sorry.
So if you use the because you have to show work well.
No, you don't. If you just show the answer, it should be fine. So if it's a 1-mark question, show the answer. But if it's a 2-mark question, you're probably going to need to show some sort of working out. So every time I press A now, okay, it's always going to give me that matrix. And whenever I press the letter A. Okay, now let's do the other one. So make the other matrix. It's another 2x3. We'll call this matrix B. So 1, 2, 3. Next row, 2, -2, and then 1. Okay, put your cursor all the way to the right. Again, you don't have to do it. Okay, but it just helps to make things a bit easier to do. So there's matrix B. So every time I press B on my calculator, I'm always going to get that matrix. So B, enter. All right. Now, looking at the question, according to this, what are we asking? What is it asking us to do? For question C, it's 2A minus 3B. So for C, it's 2 of matrix A. So matrix A is 2, 3, 0, 1, 4, 2. Okay. Minus 3B. So take away 3 of matrix B. The matrix B would be 1, 2, 3, 2, -2, 1. Okay, so what would the answer be for that? So now we can put it in a calculator. Remember, I've labeled my matrices A and B. So 2 times A, take away 3 times B. So when I do this, it will give you my answer right there. Okay, so 1, 0, -9, -9, -4, 14, and 1. Okay, so that's the quick way of doing it on your CAS if you can't be bothered. Now for D, okay, look at D. That's really easy. Just type it in as you see on your calculator because you've already done matrix A and B. So all you've got to do is 4 times A plus B. So A plus B. And then that should give you your answer right there. Okay, so what that asked us to do was 4 times, if you want to do the full working out, matrix A, so 2, 3, 0, 1, 4, 2, plus matrix B, which was 1, 2, 3, 2, -2, and 1. So we put that in a calculator and it gave us that matrix. 12, 20, 12, 12, 8, 12. Okay, there's our answer. Yes.
Like, if it's a 2-mark, it's gonna either on the test.
Yep.
You have to like do what you did C.
Yeah, so you got to show me this.
So like, and if it's a 1-mark question, that's right.
You can literally just write, if it's a 1-mark question, just write this as an answer. That'll be fine. Okay? That's all we look for when you do these. And like I said, you don't have to label the matrices. You can actually just go. Actually, I don't want to confuse you guys. Let's just leave it there. Any questions with that? Any questions? Any questions? No questions. Not too hard, yeah? It's just pressing buttons on your calculator. That's all it is. All right, let's do the application stuff. Okay, application questions. So this is similar to the previous application question here, but just focusing on this year level. So in this example, a number of students chose at 2 different schools studying VCE in 2022 is shown in the matrix below. So you've got 2 schools, A and B, and you've got 3 subjects or 3 different math subjects that they picked. Each school is aiming for its cohort in 2023 to be 10% larger than it is in 2022 cohorts. Okay, tricky questions here. Use scalar multiplication to write matrix Z that represents the number of students in each school at 2023. Okay, so firstly, what you want to do with a question like this is change it into a matrix. Does anyone want to tell me before we even write it, what matrix is it going to be? What's the row, what's the columns? What's the order?
2 rows, 3 columns.
Good, why 2 rows, 3 columns? Zach? Sorry, Anthony, yep. Cool, so there's only 2 schools, but there's 3 subjects. Okay, so let's make that first. We're not going to label it, as in we're not going to name it, but let's write our 2 by 3. Let's label the sides though. So let's label the column, so that's school A, sorry, the row, school A and school B. And we'll label the columns. So that's further maths, that's methods, that's specialist. Okay, and let's put our elements in. So you've got 150, 60, okay, and 20. Then you've got 120, 50, and 10. Okay, so let's start with that. There's our matrix. Now, if we read the question, it's asking us to increase all of this by 10%. Now, if you look back or think back to what we learned about in recursion, when you're increasing by a certain percentage, okay, you've got to be multiplying by a number that's bigger than 1. Okay, so if it's a 10% increase, hopefully you guys can remember it, but what do you think that value is going to be? What are you going to multiply it by for it to be a 10% increase? 1.1. Okay, so you're going to multiply this by 1.1. Now, we're not going to change it, but what if, for example, I wanted it to decrease by 10%? What are you going to multiply it by? 0.9. Okay, so that'll be 0.9 if it's a decrease because it's less than 1. What if it's a 25% increase? Good. Okay, 1.25. So you got to get used to doing these because it's definitely going to come up in the SAC. So this is going to be a 1.1 multiplied by 1.1 because that's 10% as an increase. So on our calculator, all right, let's put our calculator, our matrix in. So the 2 by 3. Okay, so it's going to be 150, 60, 20. Down here, it's going to be 120, 50, and then 10. Okay, now I don't have to label it because it's just the one matrix, but remember it's asking us to make matrix Z. So let's just call this matrix Z is going to be this. So I have to multiply it by 1.1. So when I do that, times 1.1. And there's your answer. Okay. So multiply that matrix by 1.1. That's what we did. So 165, 66, 222, 132, 55, and 11. One thing I'm going to add here, so sorry, is we're going to still label the rows and columns, yeah? Because you might get a question that asks you, okay, so what does element Z21 mean? Okay, so you've got to explain to me what certain elements of this matrix might mean. So F, M, and S. Actually, I might add that in here. It doesn't ask us to do a question like that, but let's just add this in here because it's going to definitely come up in your SAC. So explain. Actually, what is the value? Is the value of, let's say, Z. Let's go 2, 2. And explain what it means. Okay, I'm just going to add that question in there because, like I said, it's going to come up in your exam or your SACs, okay? So, what does that mean? Z22. Anyone want to tell me, what is the value of Z22? Row 2, column 2. So, as an answer, Z22 equals 55. And what does that number mean? So, row 2, column 2, they intersect right there. So, what does that mean? Good. So 55, you can just write 55 students. Oops. In school B chose methods. Okay, that's what that means. So you have to explain to me what it means properly when you do these questions. Okay, don't just give me the number, give me the context. All right, are there any questions? Any questions? This is pretty straightforward, I think. It's not that hard. Again, if you are struggling with it though, you need to make sure you watch the previous videos as it will make a lot more sense when you do these. Okay, I'll stop there.